defining a problem or identifying it is one of the very important and crucial steps we have to consider during the step of preparing our research problem. It's not enough just to choose such problem, but you need to identify its borders, delimit its angles, and identify also its scope by specifying it very clearly and unambiguously. That's why it is said that first identifying and then specifying a research. You see, identify to limit its scope, then specify it more and more, the scope of this search problem. Might seem like research tasks that ought to be easy and quickly accomplished. However, such is often not the case. This quote is taken from Yegidis and Weinbach. These two confirm that the step or the stage of identifying and then specifying the research scope and the pertinent area of it is not as easy as we think. All of us, we know that choosing a problem is the first and most important step in research. And this, of course, choice of the problem leads us to continue, to find our pathway, with the other research steps within its process. It means it guides our destination, in our journey of research. But choosing this problem is not enough. We need to specify it more and more to identify its essence, its scope, and its pertinent point of complication, of obstacle, of difficulty, more and more. Now, a problem clearly stated, it is said that a problem clearly stated is a problem half solved. The more the problem is clearly stated, determined, specified, the more its study will be easier, more flexible, and also accessible. Therefore, we need to define the problem unambiguously to discriminate relevant data from the irrelevant ones. And this, we can say, stage of defining a problem will affect all the other steps within the research process and all the other also research methods, tools, and techniques. Starting from data collected will be influenced by our identification of specific notion or problem or area within that problem. Also, relevant data will be influenced. Relations also will be explored, in the light only of the requirements of this specific, identified problem. Also, the techniques, research tools of investigation, tools of testing, hypothesis, data collection, assessment of our procedures, everything will be influenced, and will be chosen according to this or the borders of this identified problem. Things will be adopted as they are suitable, other things will be rejected, repudiated. Why? Because they are irrelevant. They don't serve our research, and our study. And here we can mention also Kothari's quote when he says that, in fact, formulation of a problem is often more essential than its solution. It is only on careful detailing the research problem. So here we need to present a clear and detailed account of our problem, its scope, its limits, right? And okay, all the details which relate to this specific area of investigation. All right, so, and it's only on careful detailing the research problem that we can work out the research design. Research design. All the other steps and procedures will be based on this. All right, and can smoothly continue all the consequential steps involved while doing research. So, after choosing a problem, we need also to identify its scope, right? Specify its boundaries, right? Delimit its specific angle. We want to investigate. Don't leave the door open for unnecessary and irrelevant possibilities. This will make the researcher, right, lose his way, all right, and waste time and effort. The more we specify, all right, the more we are set directly, straightforwardly on the right path with our research, and to continue with other steps smoothly, flexibly, without wasting neither time nor energy. For defining or identifying a problem, there are certain techniques that should be applied here. Right. Why? Because defining a problem involves the task of laying down boundaries within which a researcher shall study the problem with a predetermined objective in view. So here, this problem defining task, right, requires certain techniques to be adopted in order to limit the scope of our problem before we embark and we carry on with other steps of research. There are two trends or two main techniques which are used by educators, right, and scholars with regard or in regard to how to identify a problem. The usual approach, first approach or technique, approach is better, clear, is when the researcher, whether he is an individual, organization, authority, group of society, community, I don't know what, clear. When the researcher poses a question, here we have predetermined objective in view, all right. In advance, he asks a question, all right, bearing in mind that his problem will be based on this question, and it will be investigated, right, and studied, looking for an answer to that question, which is posed in advance, clear, in advance. So, when the researcher poses a question and setting up techniques and procedures for defining the research problem. So here, this question is going to what? To determine, to control in advance the selection of those techniques and procedures, all right, with which we will define and identify, all right, our research problem. Things are interrelated in advance. Question requires certain specific procedures and techniques. Right, but such an approach doesn't give, in fact, definitive results. Why? Since the question is usually broad in terms, or in broad terms. Right. Also, the question may not be suitable for testing. Right. Thus, the problem here, identification should not be accomplished hurriedly, especially in the practical side, since it causes problems. Right. So here we have a kind of hasty, right, if you can say, adoption of a question that will impose on the researcher certain techniques, all right, and certain procedures to follow, without, in fact, testing these techniques, in fact, checking the credibility and their relevance to his study and to this problem. Clear? Second approach, all right, when the research problem is defined in a systematic manner. Clear? We define it in a systematic manner, sequential way, step by step, giving due value to all relating points. This technique or approach involves taking the following steps, one after the other. Here we have set of steps to follow in order to identify, all right, and determine our problem well, properly, all right, and set exactly its boundaries and its specific point of pertinence. All right, I need to investigate. Good. First, here we have statement of the problem in a general way. So first, this technique requires statement of the problem in a general way. All right, maybe he will conduct some kind of field observation, pilot survey, all right, generally to check, all right, and identify this problem. Also, the understanding of the nature of the problem, to check its originality clearly also, all right, maybe through discussions, he holds clear to verify, all right, this notion of originality, all right. Also, surveying the available literature to take new strides, checking or review literature about that problem in order to investigate what is already overdone from what can be investigated, what can be tackled, what can be highlighted from a different angle, and so on and so forth. Clear? Also, developing the ideas through discussions here is very important also, if you can say, step, all right, to identify and define a problem. Developing the ideas through discussions, even the approaches, techniques, solutions, all right. He will discuss them with experts, with those who have experience, all right, to also enrich our knowledge about the problem, all right, and how it should be studied and tackled and limited in terms of scope, all right, and pertinence. Clear? Also, rephrasing the research problem into working preposition or proposition, right? It means analytical and operational terms. Rephrase the research problem, right? Means using the appropriate terms which reflect, right, the exact point of investigation I would like to, right, study within the realm and the broad range of that problem I have chosen. Besides, of course, considering time period suitability and other secondary factors. Now we come to aims from defining a problem. What aims or objectives do we seek from identifying and defining a problem precisely? Of course, when we say define a problem, we mean what? We mean pinpointing, describing, identifying precisely it to reach, of course, its core, right? Its major point of interest we need to investigate, right? And this process of defining such a problem serves also many other purposes. First, the definition of a problem sets the direction of the study. It means when you identify the exact point in your problem you want to emphasize and investigate, right? Here you are directing the course of your study towards a particular path which serves, right, the solution of this particular angle within this problem precisely, and not any other, if you can say, similar or neighboring, if you can say, angle within the same range of the problem. So here, the more your problem is identified and precisely defined, the clearer the direction of the study is. Also, another aim from defining a problem. This definition of the problem also reveals the methodology or procedure of the study. It means everything concerning the research study, starting from methodology of the study, techniques, approaches, procedures, tools of investigation, data collection, of assessments. All these, right, depend and rely on identifying precisely your problem, right, and the core of this problem you want to investigate and study. Everything. Also, definition of a problem helps the researcher control subjectivity, right, or biases of within his research. So, as you know, the researcher is required to be objective, right, neutral, and choosing a particular angle within his problem, right, will lead him to conduct an objective study, right, which is clear from the beginning, its operations, its tools, and so on, that it will should or follow, certain methodical and scientific procedures and steps in this process of research. Things are not left unclear, right, where subjectivity can insert, all right, or can be inserted, or can interfere. From the beginning, my problem is identified, and I will use for it such and such research methods and tools, which are, of course, scientifically and methodically credible. And this will close the door of subjectivity and biases. Also, the division of the problem also suggests and specifies the variables to be taken up. When I define my problem precisely and exactly, right, here I am determining, right, the variable or variables I'm going to investigate, to include in my study. And I'm going to exclude those irrelevant variables which are likely to be included in my study, but after defining it, precisely my problem, I'm going to keep only those relevant variables and exclude those which are irrelevant, right? Even if they seem to others that are or they can be included within the range of my study. But as the problem is clearly identified and its core is thoroughly exacted, here the variables also will be defined definitively, right? Definitively. Also, definition makes the research work practicable. It means more likely to be done, right? The more we limit the borders of our research problem, right, and precise our research course, research methodologies, procedures, tools, the more the research study will be practical, right, realistic, and also likely to have that scientific and objective spirit. Of course, when we want to opt for a particular problem and attempt to identify its core, there are here certain precautions that should be taken into account when identifying or describing or delimiting this problem. Why? To avoid the random choice of the problem core. Now, the first precaution is that the words which are used for defining a problem should have a single meaning. It means here be careful about terminology. You will include to identify and precise exactly the core of your problem, that particular angle within your problem. Because you know that each term has its own significance. And if you use the wrong term, this wrong term may lead you to another array, another, course line, that may deviate you from the particular core you intended to tackle and to study. So, terminology you choose should be very careful, clear, and also the words or conventions should have single meaning. For example, a technique, it's not like an approach. A genre, for example, literature is not like, a type, or a theory, and so on. Also, second precaution, the statement of the problem or its definition must be brief but comprehensive. Be concise and precise, but let the words you use to identify your problem cover exactly all the relevant variables that are going to be included in your study. Clear? It means be precise, but these terms should cover all those variables which are relevant to the study of this problem in particular. Clear? Don't leave things like that. Not defined clearly or defined ambiguously. Also, the assumptions are to be organized for the study. Here, by assumptions, we mean what? We mean what by assumptions? We mean suppositions to establish the scope of our problem also. Here, should be organized for the study. These also should be limited, identified also clearly, to serve or to be identical with the scope or the range of that particular problem, you are trying to identify. Also, the problem should have practical importance in the field. Don't choose any problem like that, just for the sake of discussing and studying it for no clear or scientific benefit or reason even. Clear? Especially in the field of education. There must be practical importance in the field. Problem should have concrete significance, touch, contribution. When you identify it more, precise its core, here you are also adding more value to your study, as you are going to focus and emphasize a particular angle within that range or scope of that broad problem. Clear? Definition also or statement of the problem should have certain rationale. Certain rationale. As a researcher, should have those convincing reasons, credible, motives, which drive you to choose this or that problem and to precisely identify this problem to limit its scope to study this angle in particular. In particular. So here must be rationale. And this, of course, will motivate you throughout the course of the study and research, and also it will lead you to opt for the appropriate also research tools, techniques, methods, till you reach your conclusions. Thanks.